Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home, out alone.
Here we go. Hello every morning. Oh, hello every morning. Thank God I'm editing this. Yeah. Thank God I'm editing this. So good morning, everyone. It's Zak Clayton here, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'm here with a really good friend. We have a couple friends in common that many of you will know. One of them being Mr. Z, and the other one being the wonderful Lynn, who, as you all know, has now joined us to where every third Wednesday, it's Lynn's Day. So Lynn will be giving out free readings every third Wednesday. But I'm being joined by Aviva Chansky Guttmann. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Preparing for the holiday season.
Yeah,
How about you?
It is crazy that just to think that, Thanksgiving is here, and as soon as Thanksgiving's here, then it's Christmas. But to me, the thing that freaks me out probably the most, that means that New Year's is like right here. That means that it's another year that's gone. And you're like, wow, what happened to it? It's amazing. And it seems to me like the years go a little bit quicker when things for you are better. The year doesn't drag on when personal life is dragging. It seems like everything is going a lot better. And that's something that you try to help people do, is help with their relationships. And it's not just, a lot of times people hear relationships and they hear lover or people. No, you try to help them with all relationships.
That's right.
So, but you use a system that is a little bit different. Imago?
It's called Imago relationship therapy. I'm certified in Imago relationship therapy, but it has lots of derivatives that have to do with being able to have a safe and connecting conversation of any type with any type of person or relationship. We're in relationships with everybody we encounter. We're even in relationships with people we think about and don't see. It's how we're connected in some way. So Imago relationship therapy was initially based on couples in close romantic relationship, but it has expanded because the founders, Harville Hendrix and his wife, Helen LaKelly Hunt, realized there's so much more that it can help with in the culture. So that's just a small description of it, but also the word imago, just to let everybody know, means image in Latin. And the theory was written about relationships, the image we have of what it is to be in connection with someone. So the word image sounded too much like taking photographs, Harville says. So he decided what word would say image in a way people could remember it. And that was really a clinically sounding word. So Imago is why that's in the title, Imago relationship therapy.
And this is, I'm not going to bring up what I asked you earlier about the video, but one of the other things you brought up in that video is a lot of times one of the things that you have to help people talk about is how in a altercation with someone, one person is part of a conflict and the other person is looking for the solution all the time.
Well, that depends what type of a conflict it is. Usually it's about a lack of connection or misunderstanding, or there's not a point of meeting where the people in relationship understand each other when they're having some type of a conflict. So in the exercise that we employ in Imago relationship therapy, it is called a safe conversation Imago dialogue. So you're helping people learn the skills of relating in a way that's not about disconnecting, but about connecting and feeling fully understood. So not sure exactly what part you're referring to. I think you're referring to a video on my website that is a little bit back in time. So I don't remember everything I said on it or what I
Yeah.
refer to, but I can just say that often it's the misunderstanding part that we're trying to help with people in any type of relationship. That's where the issue is the misunderstanding and this disconnect.
The reason I brought that up, and I understand that that was a little while back. It was in the same video that I was talking to you about earlier. But the reason I was bringing that up is that I've been in conflicts before in past relationships where that's exactly what it was. If it came to something, one person was yelling and the other person was like, God, how do I get out of this? What do I have to do to put it bluntly, to shut them up and move on to the next thing? And so that really caught my attention. I was like, wow, wait a minute here. I never realized we were doing that.
I think you might be referring to the fact that when we are in active, heated discussion with anyone, what happens in human nature is that we're not necessarily being present to understand and fully hear the other person. We're just waiting for the sound to end of what they're saying so that we can have our response. And oftentimes we're thinking about how to defend ourselves in that type of an interaction. And that only leads to more disconnection because there's this defense attack feeling between people. But the type of work I do helps people understand that the key to connection is first being very present for your partner, understanding fully, being aware of what they're saying and making sure you understand them. But it takes a skill set of being an active listener, plus it takes a skill set of understanding we might have reactions, but we need to put them to the side so that we can be fully present for the person in the moment. And that's a very hard skill to learn when you haven't used it before or you haven't encountered it yourself before. But many people, I give an example that's very culturally referenced these days is when you order something from Starbucks, the barista will say to you, so what you want is, and they'll mirror back to you what your order is. So they'll say like the latte with extra foam, shot of caramel, did I get that correct? And that's called mirroring. And that is what is the small sample in a socially referenced context that most people understand is that that's what mirroring is. So if you're in an argument with anyone or discussion, just make sure you got it. Like, let me make sure I understand you. Sometimes this will happen in doctor's offices if you're fortunate to have a practitioner that will ask you that. Let me see if I understand what you're saying. You have a headache, you've felt stomach pain for 2 days. So they'll repeat back to you what you've offered them. And that's the key to having a safe, dynamic conversation that helps the person speaking be understood and the person responding be fully present. So the exercises you do have exercises in Imago relationship therapy to teach people how to interact in this more effective, calm way, have to do with certain sets of standards that are not allowed. There's not allowed to be escalations where you just argue for
Hmm.
nobody hearing each other. You have to help them understand. The arguing is not effective. What's effective is learning how not to have those escalations and to contain your own reactive style and a lot of other skill sets that eventually you'll be very happy that you developed because you'll understand that that makes you be more present for the other person, for yourself, and understand how you can't always listen to that side voice that's saying, yeah, but that pisses me off. You have to help that other part understand that it has to wait a few minutes and then you have to help contain its intensity so that the conversations are more calm and connecting. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and I also, one of the things that I had to learn, and I had to learn it really quickly, is that, every argument with every mate is different. And, you can't treat every argument the same. You can't treat it like it's just a one size fits all thing. You can't come bull rushing at somebody with just words without thought behind it. And some people you can, unfortunately. One of the best people in the world, as a matter of fact, he ought to have a crown for it, for mirroring, is our buddy Mr. Z. He is so good at doing that. And I don't know if you had anything to do with teaching him that, but boy, he is one of the best at doing
Yes,
that.
well, since he's probably going to watch this, yes, Z has been a stellar student of active listening, and he's also known me for over 10 years, and he's also seen demos I've done, attended some classes I had online during COVID related to active listening and connecting, and all referencing the original Imago relationship therapy scheme of active listening, which is mirroring, validating, and empathizing. So yes, and he does report, and I think he would be fine with me saying that it's helped increase his connection when he has these one-on-ones with people about his work, or during website development, which he's superb at, to just have the back and forth, make sure he understands what you want. So that's an active listening standard, making sure you understand what the person is sending and requesting. But one thing I would encourage is to understand globally, overall, that the experience of having a fight or getting mad and having something to respond with an attack or a barb is completely the opposite of what is an effective connecting communication. It may be what we've been taught and what we've been encouraged to be like, but it doesn't help us feel connected or understand each other better or grow from things in a relationship. And it's really not just about romantic relationships, it's about every kind of relationship that we have, even from saying hello to the store clerk to saying hello to the postman. It's all about connecting in some way. So it all yields over past that encounter just one-on-one, as they say, these things reverberate onward. So if you have a better connection with someone you just see in the store, that person is having a slightly elevated feeling about life and themselves, usually because you've had a good encounter and you are too. They go to the next person they encounter and probably have a better situation with that person. And it goes on and on and on. So that's what it's about. It's very foundational, but it also is very the ripple effect. That's one thing. It's a philosophy too, the ripple effect of these connecting conversations and feeling fully heard and understood makes people go on and have more experiences like that in their families, in their lives, in their businesses. So that's also the benefit.
That is one of the things that I talk about all the time, how I will do something if I see a mom who's just at her wit's end. And, I'll be sitting there. And if I'm at the grocery store alone, for a fact there's going to be candy and probably some kind of a donut up on the thing. And I'll turn around and I'll grab myself one of my Diet Pepsis and I'll just look at her and I'll go, I have to watch my girlish figure somehow. And she'll look at me and just for a second she'll have that, huh? And she'll forget about the kid being a brat and kind of get a chuckle out of it. So I love being able to do stuff like that. But you focus on what's called energy, okay? Energy psychology. And can you tell us a little bit about why you got started in energy psychology? And more important, what is energy psychology?
Well, energy psychology is any of a number of modalities that all relate to the connection and interaction and interplay of mind, body, spirit. And many people have certain belief systems about what that is about or what the definition, let's say, of spirit. There are other names for it. There's essence, there's universe. But what it all relates to is that we are not only humans in a 3D world with our tissue, skin and cells, but we have a life that is also an emotional life. We may have very much a spiritual life. And even if we aren't believing in some type of a let's use a quote, higher power of some sort. We believe in something that's beyond our physical experience, usually. We have ethics and values. We have bodies that we feel pain in, and we have belief systems that our mind attaches to very often. And sometimes they're flexible, sometimes they're inflexible, but all of those things affect our health, our well-being, our interactions with others. So the whole umbrella of energy psychology, which people can look that up very easily. I belong to an organization called ACEP, and ACEP is ACEP, Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, ACEP. And under that umbrella organization, they'll find a whole explanation of all the different modalities people use for healing and health and wholeness. So the modalities that I have, Imago relationship therapy isn't strictly considered under that umbrella, but a lot of the emphasis is about the space between people, the energetic space of connection that they're creating by having healthier relationships. So there is a space of energy between people in relationship that is considered energetic. So that's why I also refer to that as an energy modality that does help with the health and well-being of our relationships, which are very important to all of us because we all have them. And then I also am a certified EFT tapping practitioner, and EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And that is a method which, if we have to describe it quickly, we say it's emotional acupuncture. It's an acupressure system where we touch with our own fingertips points along our body that are called meridian points. And the theory behind that is that when we have an obstacle, a traumatic memory, a negative belief, an issue that keeps activating us, very often that's about a frozen experience that's triggering us and our frozen reactions. EFT, through the use of the tapping and through some sequences of how we address the emotional reactive state that we're in, can decrease that stuck point. So we're unfreezing frozen, blocked energy. So that's also an energy modality and is based on Eastern medicine, many thousands of years old with acupuncture and other related theories that we have blocked energy that needs to be free flowing, our life energy. We're trying to unblock it. So that's a simplified explanation of EFT. And then Logosynthesis is another method that I am actively working with. Logosynthesis is another energy modality based on the use of words to try to unfreeze frozen emotional energy or triggers or limiting beliefs. That one is not used through touching, which some people are averse to a somatic experience like touching themselves or feeling that it bothers them or neurologically it's very uncomfortable for them. So logosynthesis was developed by a Swiss psychoanalyst called Dr. Willem Lammers, and he created this system where basically you're making an appeal to the energetic field to remove energy that does not belong to you, to take back the energy you've given away, and also to remove energy from your reactions that you have to standard things that cause you reactivity. So a lot of them are very intertwined. It's hard to explain exactly how until I show each modality to people. But this last month, in fact, tonight, I'm actually teaching my active listening class at an adult education center, which shows the whole mirroring, validating, and empathizing aspects of the Imago dialogue that became a safe conversation dialogue. And then last week I taught them EFT, and next week I'll teach them logosynthesis in a basic way to show them all. Students are coming to each of the three classes with the idea that they wanted to learn more about these three methods and showing the thread of how they're all energy related. So that is what I call myself also as an energy psychology practitioner, because I am very much trying to intertwine all those methods.
And please tell me if you're not comfortable doing this, but let's try to give a little bit of an example here. I've been very open about with the energies that I've carried or with the injuries that I've carried since my motorcycle accident and them missing stuff and then just me being an addictive personality person, I have become very dependent on pain pills. Um, uh, what would be in obviously we can't do the tapping here, but what would be the first thing that if I came to you and I said, Aviva, I need help to conquer this, what would be the first steps that we would do?
Well, a lot of the initial work with anybody is exploration. So there would be a lot of discussion and exploration with you about anything related to the accident itself as a moment, as a triggering event, and then anything associated around that in terms of when you are aware of that memory, what do you feel in this moment related to it? So more often than not, people assume that the past is where we're going when we're talking about something, but what we're really doing at any time, the past is not here anymore. The past has an impression it's made in our systems, so that your reaction and mine for anything that's from the past is our present reaction to how we've integrated it. So first, I would explore a lot about your integration of the experience of the accident, how long ago it was, what you feel now in your body, what your response to your discomfort is when you have the discomforts. Sometimes you'll have an ache, let's say in your shoulder, and you'll immediately have other thoughts related to it. It would be about, what is this pain about? Oh, I remember I did this. This is where I fell. That type of thing. And the mind will just spin a lot about a trigger, a memory. So we do a lot of exploring on that. But something like EFT, emotional freedom techniques, helps you with your relationship to the pain, meaning we can't say pain magically disappear with a wand. What we say is, what we learn is that we can be related to it in a different way. So you may still experience pain, but you may have a um, more of an observer feeling to it, meaning I observe that I have that, but it's okay, I have it. It's okay is another part of a lot of these methods, is that acceptance that something is very important. In EFT, you can be aware of that pain, the memories associated with it, and then you would also include in a tapping scenario, a setup statement is, even though I have this pain at a level 8 in my shoulder, for example, I deeply and completely accept myself. So that's a dual statement where no matter what is going on, I accept who I am and I love who I am. Some people can say I love and accept myself. Some people can say I hope to love and accept myself. But your truth statement helps you, yourself, your bigger self, be aware of that the issue is separate from who you are. Because a lot of the time we're in such a focused bubble of what's going on, we feel like we are the pain, which might be how it feels when you have a lot of pain. And that's why you take the medication. I'm in pain now. I got to take care of the pain. But in energy work, you can sometimes have the person become more aware, not detached and unsympathetic, but aware as an observer effect to what's going on in the body. And therefore, it can be less of a connection. And you can sometimes withstand more, quote unquote, more subjective pain. So that would be one thing, is the exploration of it and understanding that you are separate from it. And that might lessen the intensity of it for you and lessen the desire to take something for it, medicine wise.
See, one very important fact on what you were just talking about is I will be, and you and I had a personal conversation about how this weekend I was busy, just repeatedly doing something. And honestly, if I'm doing something and I don't think about the pain, obviously it doesn't bug me as much. But as soon as you get that first twinge in the back, or you get that first thing and you start thinking about it, then all of a sudden it's like an immediate crash. Because if
Mm-hmm.
it brings to attention that, oh, yeah, you do have limitations, all of a sudden they're there. And it's hard to get yourself to get back up to that place where you were. I find it very hard to do that. So, but I appreciate you going into that and walking us. It helps us learn a little bit more about your program and what you do. And I appreciate that the style that it's not just walking in and immediately trying to heal without learning. Um,
Well,
you
you
know,
actually emphasized by your answer to me also just now the mind body spirit connection. So the mind is doing this whole thing about, oh, uh, I didn't realize this, I was as injured as I am, or as, it's affecting me as much as it is. The mind is doing all that. The mind is doing that. The mind is then having the body like kick in, like, yeah, I'm going to remind you that. So what we're doing in energy psychology work, and there are other methods as well. And anyone's welcome and should, if they'd like to be more interested in knowing more about it, go to ASAP's website and just look around, because there's lots of ways to be disconnected. It's not medical surgery. It's not about, I will take away your pain. It's about, I will help you with your relationship to how you're responding to it. So that in itself can be a huge relief. But when the mind tries to jump back on board with the ruminating about, oh, yes, I feel it right now, I shouldn't have done that kind of thing. That's the mind accentuating the reaction to the pain and also allowing it to feel more painful, most likely because the mind's focusing on it. And you may have noticed
mhm.
just in general, if there's less things going on in the environment, let's say sleep, we're trying to sleep, that's when you feel more pain sometimes because your brain is not as busy with other things going on. So the mind's saying, let me have something to do in a way. But that's often when people feel more pain is in the night. Uh, because their mind doesn't have enough, their mind's saying, let me find something, it goes there. That's not the only reason that happens, but it's just very interesting. You can change your reaction or your relationship to the pain by how the mind processes the memory of it, the reaction to it, and other similar things.
Yeah. Well, I know that at night my mind always goes to all the things I didn't get done in the day,
Hmm.
and so I guess I don't ever let my mind really get into the pain part because I'm always thinking about all the things I should have got done in that day. But
It's a great time to
um
write a list. It's
yeah,
a great
yeah.
time to write lists. Hmm.
Yep, absolutely. So, um, what uh, what are some of the other methods that you would use in different relationships? How are do you use all of your the tapping, the everything else? Do you use all of that in all relationships, or is it more effective in some? Is it really just the person who
Well,
you're treating?
when I mostly I'll focus on how I teach people about it because that's the best way to apply it. So, for instance, teaching people about active listening, this is a skill that helps you in every single situation. And
Yeah.
many people present with a concern or question in life general. I don't understand why I can't get along with that person, or I don't understand why that person never comes through what they say they're going to do. So it'd be like something that's bothersome, that's repetitive for a person, and active listening is just at least the first thing the person can learn how to do to really see if they may not be understanding what's going on with the person they're in relationship with. And also that the person's behavior that they find troubling or difficult might be because they don't feel fully heard and understood. Not necessarily just by yourself, but by other people they've encountered throughout their entire life. So when they finally feel that resonance that you hear them and understand them or trying to, this can make a huge difference in what they are going to respond with and how they're going to interact differently with you going forward. That can be in anything. What comes to mind is something like just someone you're trying to engage for a service you need that you know you're a contractor for a house or something or some repairs. You want them to hear you that you need something, but you want to know what they need in order to be able to provide the service in the way you need. And you have interactions back and forth. So that's a skill that everybody enjoys learning about. If they've already been doing it, they realize it has a name. If they haven't been doing it, they realize it's something they can try. And they also realize it doesn't just benefit the person speaking, it benefits them as well. So that's one that goes across all different experiences and people and relationships.
I I've always loved the saying, God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason. You need to, if you want to get to know somebody, you need to listen to them. You don't need to tell them who they are. They we can't assume who they are. So, active listening, like I said, it is. I think it's something that's very important, and it's one of the things that we really try to push forward, especially when we're talking on February 22nd, our Veterans 22-hour podcast. We talk to people that the best way to talk to somebody who's contemplating making a drastic decision is to sit down and listen to them. Don't tell them what they need. Listen to what they're telling you they need, and then helping them from there. Um, I think that we have a tendency a lot of times to all want to push our narrative on people or push our experiences on people and tell them, look, this is what I did and it worked perfect. That's fine. It worked perfect for you. Doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone.
Another important part of teaching people the skills of active listening is about letting them know that if they have to make an appointment with someone, let's say it's a boss to an employee, if a boss says on the email or on the phone, you come here, I need to talk to you, or I need to talk to you at 3 o'clock, it gets a lot of anxiety evoked in the person because there's no mention of what it might be about. So the person's head starts to spin usually, and what could this be about? What is going on? Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? And the most important part of any communication request of someone when you can't talk in the moment is to just let them know, I'd like to speak if you could at 3 o'clock. I have a question about X, Y, or Z. You let them know what it's about so that they're natural inclination to use their imagination to fill in the gap of no information will be soothed. So that's another aspect of the listening dynamic, especially between people in close relationship, but also in work situations, as you can just see from that example. There's a lot about knowing what, helping someone know what you'd like to converse about and having the person feel settled when they start with you. There's a lot of little clues that help things go a very positive way.
Yeah, those dreaded we need to talk text
Yeah.
messages. It's like, oh no, no, we don't. No. That's the last thing we need to do. Um, I want to thank you for joining us, and I've got one more question for you, but I really want to make sure that you feel free to schedule with us again and come on anytime that you have something else going on. I found this very, very interesting, and I think that this is just one more option to give people to try for somebody who's looking for a way to heal themselves and heal situations, because if you're having a problem communicating with anyone, maybe it's not everyone else, maybe it's you, and this is a chance for you to get in and really look at yourself. So, but what are some of the groups and organizations, populations, what are some of those that'll help that you can help them really communicate and really help them be able to just work better together?
Well, the type of work I do when I educate people in the community, the types of groups that are good for receiving this type of workshop that I can offer. And again, I can offer workshops in different directions of what I cover. Um, things like lunch and learn experiences for businesses, like a health related segment that they sometimes have to have about stress management, well-being. I've done some lunch and learns online with people where their lunch hour is spent where they need the credits from their organization, but they also need the information for health and wellness about the tapping. So that's been something that's possible. I've done it for business groups like Chamber of Commerce's and Rotary Clubs, just short 45 minutes to an hour informational sessions, and I often get a demo person up there with another person to show active listening a bit, and I streamline the presentation to the time allowed for it. But it works in businesses, schools, community groups, churches and synagogues, caregiver systems like nursing homes and assisted livings to talk to caregivers either themselves about caregiver stress as a group or generational communication issues between parent and adult child or adult siblings having difficulty taking care of or planning for a parent. So those are areas that the active listening and connection skills can be helpful. And also a place that wants to learn more about alternative and complementary methods of stress reduction that don't have to do with medication. They have to do with how we interact in the world, how we take care of ourselves. All of this is about self-regulation of the nervous system, because so much of what goes awry in conversations and relationships is about being escalated. So when you referred in the beginning to feeling upset and angry and quickly wanting to respond, that's a sign of the nervous system just being in the fight, flight, or freeze mode. And that mode for all of us is where we don't have any ability to hear other people, to understand our own reactions and calm ourselves down, and then to feel more of a problem-solving, solution-based thinking come forward. It won't come forward because we're in that life preservation mode. Fight, flight, freeze was always about being chased in caveman days, originally by lions, tigers, and bears. And now that's not the case, although there are people that feel like that to us. It's more that we have to understand we have a nervous system that was very ancient, that's still in there. The amygdala is part of the brain that reacts to things as though they're an urgent life or death emergency. And often that's how we're reacting to the present day stressors of people, the news, anything that's going on. So I can help people with understanding their reactions. So situations or places that want skill sets, that's one avenue for how I can help people learn.
And how do people get a hold of you?
My website, I guess you're going to hyperlink, I think,
Yes,
when you add it.
it'll be down here.
So it's my name, avivachanskyguttmann.com, all continuous. It's spelled as it is on the screen, with two T's and two N's in Guttmann, Aviva Chansky Guttmann, all the way through.com. And my web designer is Mr. Z of the World Wide Webs, and I highly recommend him. He's been helping me for over 10 years, and he's a wonderful person as well as web designer. So I also have a LinkedIn page, but that's not too active really, as much as I'd say my Facebook business page is going to become more active lately. And I'll also be giving an article once every few weeks in a newly developed Instagram page called the Perch of Larchmont. And I live in Larchmont, Westchester, New York. And I do help people all over the country. It's not based on that for workshops that can be online. But in person, I live in Westchester, New York. And this is an advice column that's called Ask Aviva. So the first article that's out there, which they'll probably be able to see if they go to that Instagram page, will reference, and that'll also be cross-referenced in my stuff, my LinkedIn and my Facebook page and on my website. That will be about the holiday stress of anticipating being with difficult people in the holidays, which nobody can relate to, right?
Well, you know, I think that that's something that you and I do need to communicate on, because we have the 37-hour recording for holidays. But thank you, Aviva. I greatly appreciate it. I hope that you come back and join us again.
Thank you, Zach, for all your active listening. Great skills. And it was nice to work with you today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Say, bring me home, out alone, show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.